going to be going over the cards in this upcoming August season. Which are the best? What spotlights to focus on? Are you interested in any of these cards? Are you excited for this season? There's a lot of interesting combinations. We're going to go through those right now. First, we've got to talk about the Season Pass Daken. On reveal, it adds the Muramasa shard to your hand, and that Muramasa shard is going to double the power of Daken if it's discarded or destroyed. It's a fantastic pairing, and it's going to make for some interesting decks for how you're going to discard or destroy that Muramasa shard. You can see here how Daken throws the card back into your hand, and you put it down and maybe you destroy it with Killmonger. You see that power double. They showcase a Moon Girl combo here that can give you double Dakens, or shoot, you could even double up the Muramasa shard to get one Daken to go twice as big. It's not often you're thinking about using Moon Girl in a destroy deck, but it makes a lot of sense. So if you're into destroy and discard, this is going to be something that they show right here. You're going to double up in a 3/8. It's pretty good. Throwing in here the other cards that they're going to highlight in the Season Pass as far as variants go. They're all mechanized. The first one they've got here is Iceman, a sharp looking one. I know me personally, I'm excited to get a new Iceman variant, a very popular card. They've got Magneto, which is also a mechanized version. I have to admit, it's hard for me to tell how mechanized this is. I mean, I guess technically he's got something behind him that's sort of mechanized, but regardless, very cool looking card. And then the other version of Daken that they're going to have in this season pass is going to be a mechanized version of Daken. The expected order of these releases are as follows. Is Daken, it's going to be coming out in the next few days. We've got Lady Deathstrike shortly after that, X-23 following her, and then finishing up the month with Silver Samurai. Currently, we're expecting all of these to be Series 5, but we haven't had an official announcement. That's purely based on data mines. We'll look at the spotlights here in a little bit. After Daken, first up, we've got Lady Deathstrike. On reveal, destroy each card here with less power than this. They've got some pretty interesting combos for Lady Deathstrike. I'm very interested to see how players are going to incorporate her into their decks. There's a lot of talk about taking out Draculas, taking out goblins that are thrown against you, but the combos that they've got are also going to be showing things with Wong, Shuri, Zola, all interesting combinations. I'd even throw in stuff that gives her additional power like Forge, Nakia. With anybody who's doing any destroying, you always want to think about Null. And then, you know, you've got Zola, you've got Null, you've got a 5/3. If you flip that, it's a 3/5. Mr. Negative? I could see a really fun negative destroy deck with this big time. Now, maybe not in the negative deck, but you also might want to think about Absorbing Man with this card. A 5-power card taking out anything lower than that, that's pretty solid. You're messing with somebody pretty late in the game, I'm digging it. In this particular highlight, you can see that they've got Lady Deathstrike combined with Wong and Shuri. They've also got X-23 in there, who is another card coming. And guess what? If you destroy her, you get more energy. So that is always going to happen with Lady Deathstrike if she's in the same lane. You can see with that Wong Shuri combo, Lady Deathstrike gets up to 12. Now, this is a very, very narrow path, but holy cow, could you make some serious havoc on the board. And then again, you've got a 12 Lady Deathstrike in one spot. She's the only card, and here's the Zola moving it around. That is going to get straight up bonkers as far as some fun play. Is it very narrow? Is it going to be hard to pull off? Yes, it is. Those paths typically aren't going to be great success, but man, that's going to be a lot of fun. Next up, we've got X-23. We mentioned her with Lady Deathstrike. When this is discarded or destroyed, regenerate it at a random location and get +1 energy for your next turn. Extra energy is always a big deal. You've just got to find ways to discard or destroy this. So some obvious combinations with this are your Silver Samurai, which we'll get to in a minute, your Colleen Wing, any destroy in general with Venom, with Carnage, with Killmonger, Deathstroke, to be able to move this thing around as much as possible. We already mentioned Lady Deathstrike. It just is a great combination for anybody who loves destroy. And this month really is about that. In this combination, you just see a general Venom take her down. She'll pop up somewhere else, so you'll get some extra energy this next turn. Imagine having one more energy on your last turn. Maybe you can get off that Deadpool. You can get off that Sabretooth, Daken, and Deadpool, or your Killmonger before the Deadpool. It gives you some options to go out there and play around. The Zola, and I guess a Deadpool if you want that one as well, all great options. You got Hulkbuster that you can go ahead and put on X-23 as well to give it some additional power prior to potentially venoming it or destroying it and moving it around. In general, if you're playing Destroy, this is a great card to have out there and just to try to get some extra energy. Now remember, it's gonna be random RNG where this card goes. So if you've got a lane it goes to, and you don't want to destroy it anymore, Wah, wah, wah. Last but not least, Silver Samurai. This is an on-reveal card, 4/5. Each player discards the lowest power card from their hand. So you're taking something away from your opponent, and you're discarding something in your hand, the lowest power. Don't forget the Muramasa shard. It's only 1 power. Great combination with Daken. This is also not bad with X23, though if you're playing your Silver Samurai on 4, I guess maybe it could be good to discard something in your hand, because then it's going to give you 6 on turn 5, 6 energy, so that way you might be able to lay down 2 6-cost cards in that particular game. But you've got to make sure that X23 is your lowest power card. Colleen Wing, she discards the lowest cost card from your hand. So this could be another solid option to potentially get that X23 on the board at some point. Same thing with the Muramasa shard. And frankly, she's got good cost to power ratio. I also really like the idea of a stature Black Bolt combination, where that way, anytime you're doing a discard of your opponent's hand, you're going to get stature as a 1/6. Black Bolt you don't have to have, but it's a nice backup for that stature if you don't draw your Silver Samurai, because it's a pretty strong card. And then obviously at 4 cost, Zabu. Whew. So that means Silver Samurai is going to go into a lot of those already solidified Zabu decks. You can see in their first footage here, they've got Colleen Wing and Silver Samurai together with cards that you'd want to discard with X23, Wolverine, and Swarm. So you're discarding your opponent's lowest. Now, in this particular one, it showed them just getting rid of Ghost Rider. But I mentioned Stature. Stature's a card that you're definitely going to want to look at to potentially bring into this deck. And this full deck that they're looking at is a general discard Apocalypse deck, which could be great as well. You've got to be careful carrying Dracula in this deck, though, which sometimes you really like having with APOC. And then in this next one, they've got the Silver Samurai Daken combination, where Silver Samurai goes ahead and discards, and then they've just got a Colleen Wing in hand, and it's discarding the X23 to give you some additional power. So that combination is something they focused on as well. But don't rule out playing this card with other strong decks that you've already got. Any sort of Zabu shell, really all you need is stature with this card to go in an already strong deck. So if you got a Darkhawk shell that you've already run with stature and Zabu, this is a great addition to that deck. 4/5 is pretty solid power. Make it a 5/11 with stature? Yeah, sign me up. So now the question is, you're limited on spotlight caches. What should you do and focus on? Now, I made a tier list about 2 weeks ago. Now, some of this stuff has changed, and obviously some of them are gone. But originally, I had X23, Lady Deathstrike in the good niche section, the 3rd tier of this. And I had Silver Samurai in the 2nd tier. Now, remember, part of this is based on what other cards are in that particular spotlight. Having some time to look over this and think about it a little bit more, I think Lady Deathstrike could arguably be moved up to the solid section, because she's with MODOK and Stature, which if you don't have either of those 2 cards, it makes sense to want those this particular month, especially, like I said, with Silver Samurai. I'd say the weakest of the bunch, unless you don't have the cards, might be X23, Nebula, and Silk. If I've already got Nebula and Silk, I'm not certain I'm really going for that X23 spotlight. So this stuff can always be subjective based on your playstyle, etc. But if I was to give a recommendation, I'd probably focus on the Lady Deathstrike and Silver Samurai combinations. They've generally got pretty good spotlights, and they're very solid. And arguably, if you really like Destroy and Discard, I'd push those up to save 4. I mean, Spider-Man 2099 is a Destroy card. It's something that you can use. You only need 1 or 2 other cards to really go with it to be able to do some Destroy. And Ghost Spider's really cheap now. This is a bit of a spreadsheet type look if you're looking at these spotlight caches. So with Daken, you're going to get the Nimrod Spider-Ham Galactus one. And this is because it's a season pass card that week, so you're not going to get a brand new card in the spotlight cache. It's actually a pretty decent week, but I still call it an easy skip unless you're really looking to grab those cards. Nimrod has made a lot of waves, so is Spider-Ham, and Galactus is clearly still one of the more controversial, maybe not for the reasons it used to be, but the whole BMing thing. Lady Deathstrike, we mentioned being really good. Both of those are Series 4 in that spotlight, but they're still pretty good cards. The X23, those are both Series 5, and I think that's the reason that they have them there, is because X23 is not necessarily going to be a huge attraction for a lot of people because of the RNG of where she lands. And then Kitty Pryde going along with Spider-Man 2099. Kitty Pryde is still a pretty solid card. I'm pretty happy with all of these spotlights this month. And then the first of the month for the Loki season is going to be Ghost Spider, Null, and Jeff. Jeff is a fantastic spotlight, so you do need to think about these spotlights yet to come for the following month. Don't get just too focused on this month, because it takes at least a month to save up 4 spotlights to be able to get any particular one card that you really want in a week. Now, you could get lucky and get the card right away, but you never know. I made some guesses as far as what's going to happen in September. I don't know if these are right or not, but I just did it based on how good the cards were. Originally, I was not planning on doing a whole lot this month of August, but I have to admit, I do like Destroy, and I'm getting a little bit more excited than I was originally. So rounding this all up, all of these cards look really cool, fun, especially if you're a discard or destroy type player. Those folks are going to be going absolutely nuts, loving what's coming this month, and probably going to want to get every single one of these cards. There's some definitely creative combos. I'm looking forward to doing some deck building. Comment below what decks that you're looking forward to building these cards into. What are you most excited about? What spotlights are you focused on? I love chatting about that stuff. There's a Discord and Twitter link below if you want to at me, talk to me about it. I love getting that community interaction. Do you think all of these are going to be Series 5? I wish I really knew now, because it would help rate some of these things and help give some better advice. We'll see. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it. If you want to hammer down that like button to further support the channel, we always appreciate that. Share with your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. Until next time, hope you have a wonderful day.